going on, nomads, party people, and strangers everywhere across the internet? So, Jonathan...
Are you the prey? We are the hunters.
Young... Music.
Now we sound the drums of war.
Honestly, I had no idea who this guy was for the longest time. I mean, he's been around for a hot minute, and by a hot minute I mean a few years. And his craft is very good. His sound is phenomenal. His entire taste in music, I just cannot fathom over how many good genres he's covered, and will probably cover even more in the future. Even more so impressive, he has not only his own original stuff, but also popular covers that have skyrocketed him into fame. Not necessarily Nate Wants to Battle fame, but still fame. So instead of doing my usual shtick about how I do stuff with musical reviews, for Jonathan Young, I'm going to do something a little bit different only for him. We're going to first do the first half, which is only of covers, and then we're going to cover the original songs that he has made over his many years of being a musician in the second half. So, for covers, let's go over, I would say, 5 of the covers that I myself recently found out about. Cheryl, for the sake of just certain sakes, let's go over just 2 metal songs for just the first part of The Prince of Egypt's Playing with the Big Boys.
You're playing with the big boys now.
And Arabian Night from Aladdin. So why pick those 2 exactly? Well, let's see. The entire original sound for both entire songs kind of fit the mold for where it was in said films, where it was kind of played up for laughs about, one, how the introduction was for the Aladdin story, and the other one just trying to be 2 shady shysters just trying to pull one over on the Pharaoh, while Moses himself is just demonstrating the powers that he has gotten from he who is what he's always been. But when it hits you in a different cover of sound, there are many different ideas that go into your mind. Playing with the Big Boys in the metal cover that he's done with Caleb Healis, who we'll cover in a different music review, so we're gonna get to him eventually. It sounded less like a shyster sort of scenario and more or less kind of like 2 powerful magicians just trying to seep their claws into your psyche and bend you to their whim, just making your entire being and soul just start being torn asunder by every single sound, every single incantation that they spew in your face, every single time they just utter a god's name. The more they just keep unraveling more and more of their words, you just feel more enticed to just feel defeated, feeling all sorts of dark emotions. And for Arabian Night, the whole metal cover, instead of just being a soft little somber thing to build up the suspense of how the story's supposed to be, it kind of gives you this whole little mental image of just a big old wasteland at war with many different dark jinns, and the only saving grace is this one lone hero that only goes by this one mysterious name we'll find out after the initial song, as it keeps building more and more in the tone with each and every guitar string, each and every impactful motion that comes into play with every single note and melody implemented. And then we're gonna move on to just some of the stuff that he's called the pop punk covers. Let's go over one in particular of You're Welcome.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Oh.
But how do we also throw in more of the little bit of the strangest strange? Well, there are many things I could pull out of my hat. In fact, I just might do that right now. Alright, Immortals by Fall Out Boy.
'Cause we could be immortals. Immortals.
Now, in a pop punk sense, many people would just be like, oh, well, if it's also something involving Fall Out Boy, it should be pretty good, 'cause Fall Out Boy is decent, right? Anywho, moving on before I start saying stuff I might regret. The pop punk stuff kind of gives a brand new energy and vibe to the certain songs that you might not have seen from just the whole original tone of said genre. With Fall Out Boy, it's very much pop punk, but in a grunge sense, where it doesn't even sound that kind of upbeat in tone or something that gets you very vitalized and energized, but gets you kind of in that mosh pit mode. While in the same case as You're Welcome from the Disney movie of Moana, again, very surprising, I'm bringing up a lot of Disney covers instead of other covers that he's done. He kind of rejuvenates the entire tone and message of it, not only being something of a big old party anthem for the own character that's just trying to finagle a boat out of somebody's own grasp, but also kind of like a lively party jam that you would have at any sort of occasion, because guess what? It has that lively ass energy that makes you just want to get up and dance, just makes you want to start picking up your own instruments and start playing along. It gives you that feel of joining in with the music no matter what you do as a musician or as an instrumentalist, as a vocalist, whatever have you. That's what it does to revitalize you from the first example. Second example of Immortals kind of takes what Fall Out Boy tried to execute and actually does it to 500% more effort, 500% more energy, and 500% more enthusiasm, bringing out an even grander sound for this one particular song that not a lot of people wanted to give any credit or credence to, because Fall Out Boy kinda does some very stupid things. Anywho, the thing of how Jonathan Young takes every single sort of song that he can get his hands on for covers of any sort of assortment of the original genre is very appealing to how it makes it sound in a grand spectrum of how you want a song to be portrayed for something. And the final examples I'm going to give you guys, I'm not going to give any sort of genre recommendations or anything like that. I'm just going to pull 3 songs that I myself found really enjoyable from start to finish. Firstly, the jazz cover of I Wanna Be Like You, because for one, Jonathan Young's original standpoint of musical genre base was jazz. I wanna be like you. Second one, Hellfire, the metal cover, because that is what he's called his favorite cover to date so far. Whether that is or isn't the same anymore is still up for debate, so I'm not gonna say too much. Like fire, hellfire. And final cover is from Hamilton's You'll Be Back, sung by King, I think it was King George.
You'll be back, soon you'll see.
I Wanna Be Like You from the original standpoint of the movie that I saw many years ago for The Jungle Book. The song itself, from where it goes from the original to today's standpoint with Jonathan Young's cover, honestly, I enjoyed a million times more. It honestly gave me more of a vibe to get up and start snapping my fingers, picking up a trumpet or a saxophone, and try to pick up a few notes along the way of every single drum beat, snare, guitar strum, whatever have you. It kind of gives a whole new feel to what the jazz genre has been doing for many modern artists that I really do find entertaining and, quite frankly, enjoyable to watch as it's evolving from good artists. Moving on from that, of Hellfire. Now, this one is kind of a strange one for me because if you guys saw my recent countdown of part 1, Hellfire is one of my favorite songs from any musical-based film. But, how do I kind of describe how I felt about this, comparing it to the original? From how Disney tried to make Count Frollo feel in the song of just a man torn between his own volition and his own energy and credence to how he's portrayed himself to be a justly warrior for God, Jonathan Young's cover actually implements something of a man truly fighting his own demons, trying to not only see himself for the evil that he has become, but also be torn between both his lighter and darker side as his mind is being shifted more and more as it's starting to be sort of encapsulated and crushed down by his own sinful desires, as he puts it, for just this one woman while still kind of keeping Count Frollo's very rapey vibe. If you guys still don't know what I mean by that, just watch the movie. And the final one that we're going to be talking about, the Hamilton cover of You'll Be Back. Now, I never really talked that much about this song during my Hamilton countdown. Man, I've made a lot of countdowns. When it comes to You'll Be Back, though, the original premise of it was just this kind of stuck-up douche thinking that he knew what was going on. Needless to say, though, Jonathan Young's cover, I honestly say, kind of keeps to the same pace. A stuck-up prick that feels like he knows exactly what's going on and it should go his way. But there is a small little adjustment that is the difference between the original Broadway cover to where this Broadway cover is. In the original, it's more or less stated as if he has just a small fun side to his whole sadomasochistic mindset. Give it up to Jonathan Young's one, it seems more like a child that feels like the power that they have amassed and gained is a lot more tantalizing to see for itself to be all throughout the fruition part. It kind of gives itself a brand new life with each and every time someone does a cover of it, and Jonathan Young's cover is no different, taking itself to be a far grander example than how a lot of people interpreted the song, even though the original is technically just as good as this cover. Moving on. I could go all day involving all these covers, but I guess you guys can see where I'm going with this. There are a lot of stuff that people could just do on the regular that just sounds good, sounds prolific, and sounds intense. Or at least sounds like it's trying to bridge the gap between everything involving how the music's portrayed to how it is to someone else. With Jonathan Young, however, he's taking it as if it's a small little hatchling inside of an egg ready to be born to be a proud eagle or a proud falcon of something, and instead molding it into something even grander of like a powerful Garuda beast, or an immensely impressive Thunderbird, or just the majestic phoenix coming out to just grant the entire world with its own glow of euphoric energy, giving its own sense of credence to, here I am guys, this is my music, and I'm here to reshape the entire spectrum for every genre. And honestly, I would want to give a review about all this stuff from all the letter grades, the number rating system, and the star rating system, and the blah blah blah, but I'm gonna wait for 3 conditions. Number 1, I'm going to wait until this video gets at least 5 likes, so if you guys really want to get an actual review about this in the comments or in part 2, just hit this with 5 likes and I got you. Second thing, if it just gets 3 likes and Jonathan Young himself likes this video, I'll actually just do the whole thing where I just make a full-blown video like that, saying what my whole review is on his covers, and maybe try to see if I can convince him for an interview for Red Lounge. That's all good. And the third condition is just you guys wait until part 2 comes out for the full-blown review of both parts. Not as exciting as the second conditions, but you know, whatever. I'll see you guys in part 2.